Good morning and welcome back to another episode in our 10-minute Wellbeing Tips for Managers series. Today, we're back in the pillar of social climate, and we're going to be focusing on trust. And because we only have 10 minutes, I'm going to limit my comments to just a couple of foundational concepts. I'm going to give you a resource, and also we're going to talk a little bit about the connection between well-being and our capacity to trust. But let's start with a couple of quotes that answer the question, why is trust important in organizations like ours? And these are from major thought leaders in the field of trust building. Stephen Covey wrote, "Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication, and it's the foundational principle that holds all relationships." And then Doctors Dennis and Michelle Rayner, who have worked with us at Johns Hopkins, remind us that trust builds the bridge between our organization's need for results and our human need for connection. If we think about it, almost everything we do in healthcare is relational. We cannot achieve the outcomes we care about without healthy relationships, and trust is foundational to those. In fact, Stephen Covey warns us that without trust, we don't truly collaborate. We merely coordinate, or at best we cooperate. And it's trust that transforms a group of people into a team. When trust is low, our sense of community and connection to each other is compromised. And what we observe is that people withdraw from relationships, and they're less willing to share their ideas, their thoughts, their skills, their resources, and they're very unlikely to step up and have somebody else's back. Our protective walls just go up, and our willingness to be open and vulnerable shuts down. But here's the dilemma for us as leaders. What is trust? The challenge for many of us that trust is both a powerful and concrete force in our lives, and at the same time, it's very ambiguous and hard to describe. So what do I mean by that? Well, we all know trust when we see it or we feel it. And we certainly know when trust is not present. But can we describe trust in terms that help us understand in a very tangible way so that we can build trust in our teams? If you think about it, definitions of trust suggest that trust is a belief that someone or something is reliable, good, honest, effective, etc., etc. But I would suggest to you that trust is much more than a rational or a cognitive belief in something or someone. It is a felt sense. We feel it viscerally. We feel it in our bodies. As I've mentioned to you before, as humans, we store our negative memories, and we do these preferentially so that we can identify risk to us in future. So many of us have a very clear sense of what low or broken trust feels like. But it's very helpful to learn what a trusting relationship feels like in your body. So let's try it now. Please bring to mind someone at work that you really trust. Just, if it helps, close your eyes for a moment and just bring their face right up here into the front of your mind. Now, sense into what it is that you feel when you think about them. And notice where you sense that in your body. And then perhaps think about what words come to mind when you think of this trustworthy colleague. If it helps, please write them down, or perhaps come back when this recording is online and go through this again. But some of the words that people use to describe trust are that it feels safe, it feels open, it feels calm, and that they feel supported, connected, seen, heard, understood, respected, or appreciated. From now on, I'm going to introduce some concepts in Doctors Dennis and Michelle Rayner's book, Trust and Betrayal in the Workplace, because I found them very practical and actionable. I don't have any conflict of interest here, but I am going to strongly recommend this book to you. The key concept in their work is that trust is reciprocal. We give trust to get trust. Trust is built behaviorally and incrementally. And although sometimes we want to wait to give trust until we feel that we trust the other person, the Rainers emphasize that trust building begins with us, with me, with our attitudes, our intentions, and our behaviors within our relationships. The Rainers also teach us that most of trust building is practice. There's no shortcut to it. It's built consistently and intentionally day by day. In their book, Dennis and Michelle Rayner describe 3 dimensions of trust, and within those, 16 specific behaviors that give us a shared language to use when we discuss trust. Now, I don't often read every word on a slide to you, but I'm going to break my pattern by doing it and invite you to reflect on each of these as I read them to you. So the Rainers describe the foundational dimension of trust as trust of character. And this has 6 behaviors associated with it. The first is to manage expectations, to establish boundaries, to delegate appropriately, to encourage mutually serving intentions. That means that you and I both understand that we stand to gain from this, to keep agreements, and to be consistent and fair. The next dimension is trust of communication, and the Rainers are quite clear that this is an area where many organizations around the world struggle. These behaviors are to share information, to tell the truth. And here I want to pause because we say, well, of course I'm telling the truth, but if we are honest with ourselves, there are times where we avoid conversations and we avoid telling the whole truth because telling the truth is hard. And so this is the trust building behavior, to tell the truth even when it's hard to do. Then to admit mistakes, to give and receive constructive feedback, to absolutely maintain confidentiality, and then to speak with good purpose. And that means that there is no gossip allowed in our teams. Trust of capability is acknowledging people's abilities and skills. It's allowing people to make decisions. It's involving other people in decision-making and seeking their input, and it is helping people learn the skills they need to succeed. And it is these daily activities that we practice that will either build trust or sometimes unintentionally erode trust. And the Rainers emphasize that about 90% of all trust breaking happens unintentionally and is the result of not huge betrayals, but small, subtle behaviors and minor infringements that occur regularly, such as not expressing gratitude, taking credit for somebody else's work, not being grateful for help, not returning email, or doing all the talking in a meeting so nobody can have an opportunity to contribute their ideas. So let's turn now to the question, how do trust and well-being influence each other? Our well-being and our capacity for trust are connected. This is especially true when our well-being is compromised. When we don't trust people we are with, we feel unsafe. And feeling safe, of course, is very important for our well-being, so they completely interact at all times. The challenge for us to pay attention to as leaders, especially now, is that when our well-being is compromised, our capacity to trust others, but also to trust ourselves, goes down. So I might find myself thinking, gosh, I just don't trust myself to have that crucial conversation, or I don't trust that I can think of a different way of doing this. The Rainers devote an entire chapter of their book to the importance of the relationship we have with ourselves and how that contributes to our ability to trust ourselves and to build trust with others. And they describe 4 pathways to enhancing self-trust, which you will see also connect quite strongly to well-being. The first is to take care of yourself. And clearly, these are all the things we do to take care of our physical health. The second is to believe in yourself. That's your inner self. Honoring our capabilities, paying attention to that self-talk. Are we being kind and self-compassionate and respectful to ourselves in our self-talk? Or are we breaking ourselves down with judgmental criticism about the way we're performing? Then the third one is to make room for yourself, to tune into yourself emotionally and spiritually. And this is the space of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, mindfulness and mindful leadership, and grateful living. And finally, the fourth pathway is to be a friend to yourself. Above all, be kind to yourself. And I'll leave you with this thought, that as you practice caring for yourself to improve your capacity to trust yourself and others, think about how you can encourage others that you lead to do the same, how they can be kind and respectful to themselves. And that brings us to our tips for today. Agenda tip 15 is to include opportunities in meetings for your team to contribute their input and to participate in decision making. And manager tip 17, have a zero tolerance policy for gossip. It may seem harmless, but it is a major trust breaker. Next week, Dr. Sophia and Jennifer Salaveri will introduce you to a well-being practice called progressive muscle relaxation. We hope you'll invite someone to join you to experience the benefits of this. And of course, we always invite you to use and share the resources of Healthy at Hopkins and the Office of Wellbeing. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon.